Let's look at a scene here and compare Darth Vader and Han Solo. Now, I do not actually like what I've titled this, Science versus Religion, Science versus Faith. However, that's how our culture speaks, and so I'm entering you into that world. But we all know that science is impossible without the reality of what God has made and the regulatory nature that God has instilled into His creation. We all know that it's not able to be done outside of that context. So there is no science versus religion. It's science because of Jesus. Really, you can say that. But let's look at that debate in Star Wars itself. Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed. The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force. Who does Darth Vader say that to? It's not Tarkin, but you're close. You can be vague with it. Yeah, one of the Imperial admirals at the table with the bad British teeth and the bad hair. One of those guys, right? Because what's the guy say? This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it, right? You remember that? And Darth Vader is like totally Debbie Downer here, right? He's like, wah, wah, wah. You know, I know you just spent a lot of money and everything, but actually, guys, don't be too proud of this technological terror, right? Because force power. That's what he says. Hey, check it out. End of episode 4. How does the Death Star get blowed up? What happens? Luke turns off what? Turns off his targeting computer and instead trusts the Force. By the way, it's still a little, it's not 100%, he's in an X-Wing fighter. He's firing what? Proton blasts or whatever? It's not like he's not using any technology, but I guess the visual scanning thing, I guess the targeting computer, that's like too much tech. I mean, I'm just making fun of some of it, but the dialogue, what you see is, trust this instead of this. And Darth Vader is actually right on this. I can even think of a biblical parallel where God says something like what Darth Vader says here. Multiple places, but let's think of actually maybe even an event. Genesis chapter 11. What's in Genesis chapter 11? The Tower of Jeff? What'd you say? Oh, the Tower of Babel. Sorry. The Tower of Babel, right. So you have the Tower of Babel. What were they doing there on the plain of Shinar? Right. God says what? Check it out. They're monolingual, right? They have one language. They might be able to do anything they want. Let's confuse their language. He dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. By the way, they were being disobedient at that point because God said, hey, go out, do the dominion thing all over, multiply all over. Don't huddle up in the plain of Shinar trying to reach me, homie. So they were already being disobedient. And it was quite a technological tower terror, wasn't it? The ziggurat that's going up and up. I mean, what were they going to do if they got to God? Don't know. But God says, don't be too proud. Don't be too proud. So Darth Vader actually is right on this one versus Han Solo, who I think is wrong here. Ha ha. Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blast at your side, kid. What happens right before that? Why does he say that? This is a quiz without t-shirts, but it's still a quiz. Does anyone know? Say it loud. Who gets what? Luke gets shot by what? Right. You got it. All right. Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Anyways, Obi-Wan says that after. That's actually not logically 100% coherent. Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. It should be like, your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them all the time or something like that. But anyways, it's okay. It's not as witty. So this is interesting, isn't it? Look at this quote here. Hokey religions and, so this is a conjunction, ancient weapons are no match for what? He's about to do some superlative stuff here. for a good blaster at your side, kid. So the blaster actually would be parallel with what out of the first part of his sentence? Ancient weapons, right? The blaster, the weapon. That makes sense. There's kind of a parallel. Ancient weapons and modern weapons. Han, one day the good blaster is also going to be an ancient weapon. Just want to tell you that. But nonetheless, he throws this in there. Hokey religions. Hokey religions. So your belief system and the weapons that you utilize apparently along with it are no match for this. But Han becomes a converted skeptic, doesn't he? Does anyone remember what he does say in the newest Star Wars: A Force Awakens? It's true. All of it. Except for the parts that they made non-canonical. Those are just legends now. That's a nerd joke, by the way. That's a nerd joke. It's a slam on Disney nerd joke. But forget I just said that part. Because he changes his mind because of what he had seen and experienced. But prior to that, he says, kid, I've flown from one end of this galaxy to another, and I've never seen anything. You remember that? Making me think there's one mystical energy field controlling my destiny. Remember that? So he based his disbelief in the power of the Force upon his experience, which can be a faulty epistemology, can it not? If you base your epistemology strictly on your experience, it's limiting. And really, you don't even operate that way anyway. It's not even true when people say that. But that's what he bases it on. But then his experience changes, and his worldview at that point changes. But I like to kind of juxtapose these two together to show you, in this instance, I think we should agree with Darth Vader. He's saying there is something more powerful, something metaphysical, something indeed, at least at this point, invisible, something outside of the realm of your control, something different than just your tech, and it's more powerful than it.